Good evening, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. We're here to present our presentation about decarbonizing supply chains with you. My name is Jaap Jan. I'm here with Willem and with Emily, who wasn't introduced, but is a very important part of our conversation, actually. So apologies for that, and thank you for being here. Let me start with a while ago. As I was introduced already, I'm the director of OneTrueValue. We are an impact investment company investing in small and medium-sized enterprises in emerging economies. We've been active in Bangladesh for quite a number of years already and invested in several businesses. Actually, one of our investments, Classical Handmade Product, is here. You can speak with them in one of the booths. And they're the ones that made these bags for you. So they do exist and they are here. We have an intensive collaboration with OneTrueValue, led by Willem. And we do that in a joint venture under the name OneTrueValue. So there's many labels, but you just remember OneTrueValue. And OneTrueValue is a green financing investor investing in businesses in frontier markets. We were here at Best of Bangladesh about 2 years ago, and there we introduced our Access to Green Finance program, because we reckoned we needed a program developing the ecosystem around green financing for SMEs. So we work with banks, with financial institutions, with investors, building green business cases and helping SMEs to transition to green models. And one of the spin-outs of that Access to Green Finance program was, or is, our ORE2 fund, our Renewable Energy Fund. And that aims at decarbonizing supply chains. And so we're here to explain about that to you. I'll hand over to Willem first, who is going to go more into the approach and strategy and models that we have for this. And then we listen to Emily with an example from Bestseller of how they exactly do that. Willem, over to you.
Well, thank you, Jaap Jan. Here we are. Yeah, let's go into decarbonization. We are a financing company focusing on the green transition in Bangladesh, and we do that with the leaders in Bangladesh, the same as Mustafiz is organizing this event, where you take a lot of creativity, a lot of courage to come here and to present the story of Bangladesh. We see the same kind of leadership in our work in the factories where we bring our financing tools. And I've been to Bangladesh over the last 6 months about 6 times, and so really got to know the people there. And I can see that we can have a meaningful contribution. And leadership is necessary in this industry, because we need to go through a net zero environment. And so the global fashion industry is contributing 2% to greenhouse emissions. And if we want to stay on course of a 1.5 trajectory that's agreed in the Paris Agreement, we need to reduce with a factor 2. That means we need to go to 40% of greenhouse emissions compared to where we are today. And if you act today, you'll be in a much better position than you act later. Because if you look at it in 2022, you have a factor 2, but if you go to 2030 and the business as usual, the garment industry keeps growing at the business as usual pace, you need to cut 2.5, factor 2.5. And if you go to 2050, you need to cut with a factor 6. And that's the urgency that climate brings to the industry. Where is financing needed? Financing is needed in decoupling that carbon from the growth of the industry. Okay. Next slide. When I'm working, I often look at this quote. It says, we need to transition to a low-carbon economy, and we can do that in a guided way, or nature will compel us. I mean, there's no escape to it. We have to make those reductions, and we should not wait for that. I heard somebody on radio saying it's like you're looking at a house on fire, and you're going to act now and keep the damage to limit, or you're going to wait until it's burned down, and then you start action. So inaction is not an option. Go the other way. It's a dim scenario, but if you really look at what the options are for industries, there's a lot of opportunity also in acting today. The technology for decarbonization in factories are much more superior than those of the oil industry. It can save a lot of costs. It's much more efficiency. And for brands, if you look at working with low carbon suppliers, you need to start acting now, because for the suppliers that will be available in the future, it will become more scarce and scarce. And also for brands, we're looking at financing, access to financing for brands in a world where you work with companies that are not on a trajectory to low carbon. It becomes much more difficult. There's a range of opportunities that mitigates the risk of the transition, that mitigates the physical damage of the transition, that are available at the moment. Then, where do we focusing on? We're focusing on energy. Energy is 75% of the CO2 emissions. That's a big chunk of it. Energy is become more and more insecure. If you look at Bangladesh, for example, the gas resources are depleting. Where does the energy come from? After that, markets are becoming volatile. Prices are rising. So you would think that energy is on the top of the priority list for manufacturing, and it's actually not. If you look at renewable energy, only 4% in the country is using renewable energy. I've heard it a lot of times today. It's about collaboration, and I think that truly is a key for success. We need to collaborate along the supply chain with investors on one hand. That's what we're good at, but we also need that collaboration between factories and between international buyers. And in that collaboration, there's a lot to gain. I heard also today about competitiveness. Definitely working with the European market is also working on sustainability to maintain your competitiveness. I already touched upon reducing cost and reliable energy. That's where the gain is for factories. But also in the international buyer, on the buyer side, is the compliance with the EU. It's about your brand reputation, and I already touched about access to finance. Now you can also ask yourself, why do we do this? Well, for us is a return on the investments. That's important, but as impact investor, we also look at the environmental side of it. Now that's clear, but also on the social impact side of things, because when the companies stay competitive, jobs will be maintained. I hope this sketches the setting where we are working in. Last month, we have signed a deal with GGI. There's a collaboration with Bestseller and a local developer company called Soulshare, and they are collaborating with the suppliers in Bangladesh. I think there's a great opportunity to showcase that to you, and I think there's nobody better who can do that than Emily from Bestseller.
Okay, thank you very much. That's a helpful introduction. So yes, I'm Emily Caswell. I am from Bestseller. I work in the responsible sourcing department in the supply chain. And thank you. And yeah, basically I'm here today to talk to you about this project, this program we're running in Bangladesh, and share some learnings and some reflections from that. So basically, yes, context. Bestseller, like most international fashion groups, has Scope 3 targets. Our Scope 3 target is to reduce our Scope 3 emissions by 30% by 2030. And as you can see from the table, progress has been quite slow, to say the least. We haven't managed to uncouple growth from our emissions, and that is a real challenge. But I don't think it's a challenge we're alone in. I think a lot of international brands are also on the same page. And one of the trends we're seeing in this, and how some brands, and a lot of sort of the model we've seen so far, has been like a monitor and mandate model, whereby brands ask their suppliers to monitor their greenhouse gas emissions, and then a couple of years later, they'll mandate that they reduce them 10% year on year, and if you don't reduce them, we might offboard you, or we might, penalize you. And I think some of the reflections is that that model is not going to get us there. It's penalties, it's not a partnership. So I think that's something that we are looking to develop. And one thing we've been working on at Bestseller is a sort of different model. We basically did a pilot program a couple of years ago called the Forward Environment Program. We basically got together a group of willing suppliers and some engineers, and we're focusing on factory efficiency. And it's about reducing energy use and reducing water uses at factory. And the engineers would sort of turn up at the factory, they'd do a 360-degree assessment, and you'd come up with a list of recommendations, from small ones to big ones. And one of the big consistent findings we always had was that if you really want to reduce your energy, you can put solar panels on your roof. You can get 20% more renewable electricity into your factory, and that's going to be a big win. So we're like, fantastic, 20% less emissions from each factory. That's like a big step towards progress. And then we went to our suppliers and we were like, yeah, so this is what we should do, right? And they're like, yeah, it's kind of expensive. I don't know. I don't know how to do it. I don't have the expertise. And that's part of it. You've got to put yourself in the supplier's shoes. There's no incentive for them to do it. I mean, if they've got spare cash, they're in the business of making clothes, not in the business of making energy. So there is a reluctance there. So we sort of went back to our drawing room and had a think and realized that, okay, the two gaps here are finance and expertise. And we can fix that. So with finance, our parent company, Heartland, they come forward. They offer the capital up front to finance the the installation. And then we've got our local partner, Soulshare, which is an engineering company in Bangladesh, and they provide the expertise. They source and install the solar panels. The factory just provides the space. And in return, they get the electricity. And because we work on a net metering system, when the factory is not using electricity, it goes into the Bangladeshi grid. So we're quite happy with this, and our suppliers are quite happy with it for the various obvious reasons up here. And I think one thing beyond this, the long-term commitment, I think, is important for a lot of suppliers. In the fashion industry, there's a tendency to chop and change your suppliers based on price and other motivations. But if Bestseller's got an installation on your roof that's going to be there for 20 years, we're not going to leave next season. We care. We're invested in your business's longevity. And I think that's a benefit. So I think what we're sort of suggesting here is a change in sort of model. It's a change of approach. We're doing this in partnership with our suppliers. It's not something done to them. And I think there's got to be a sort of an acknowledgement as well that every product made in Bangladesh takes something from Bangladesh, be that the workers' time and their energy, it is the energy from the grid, it is the water that is used in washing these materials. So each panel installed or funded from Heartland is a small way, a little bit of way of giving back into the future of Bangladesh, into this idea of the just transition. And I'll sort of end with that. We actually don't have the figures, but basically there's 10 suppliers already signed up. And it's small, it's not huge, but it's a start. And it's not the only solution up our sleeve, but it's one of them, and I think we need many more. So I'll pass on back. Thank you.
Thanks, Emily. It's a start indeed. It's maybe still small, but it's a start, and I think it's a proof. It's a proof of concept. It's a proof that the business case is clear. From financial perspective, from a climate perspective, from a social perspective. And it calls for collaboration to work together to now roll this out and make this bigger. So let's close with a very simple call to action for the brands and the buyers like Bestseller, for investors like us, and for the factories like some of them are with their booths here. I think we all need to do this together. So buyers, brands, if you are interested here, I think you're the ones that incentivize and that actually are the pull factor. So come and talk to us and see if we can work together with your producing factories so that we can indeed roll out this solution with the financing package that we have available.